The anime starts in a house where a redhead called Enzu is excited that her new video game has been delivered. She kisses it as she is obsessed with games. Ever since young, she only focused on video games and cared about chocolate. The love of her life is her cat Mamahiki. Romance was not part of her life until she met a guy. Sitting in her room while munching on chocolate, she plays a love game. With goddamn shit graphics. What the fuck is this? Anyways, Enzu refuses to believe that the new game is that bad when suddenly, a wizard puppet called Riri jumps out of the TV. Of course, Enzu is confused, so Riri explains to her that she came from the magic world to help Enzu with her love life. Saying that she doesn't need it, she mentions her love for in-game characters. Riri tells her she will be able to live her life like an Otome game and talks about the new game called Romantic Thriller. Making fun of Enzu for not being able to handle the game, Enzu assures Riri that the game is just ass. Riri helps her picture a life full of romance and pretty boys, but Enzu is hesitant. To help her, Riri confiscates her cat, chocolate, and video games. She goes to check immediately and realizes that all her video games have turned into octopus skewers. Checking her chocolate now, it has also disappeared and Riri has poop on his lips. Enzu is mad and Riri tells her that she has spent all her time playing games instead of dates and now has to pay. As such, her greatest desires will be confiscated until she gets into a lovely relationship. Thinking that it is impossible, she pleads to Riri and gets smacked as he is here to solve the low birth rate problem. After being annoying for a few more seconds, Riri tries to leave. Enzu grabs him, but Riri tells her there is no going back. As Enzu is complaining, Riri disappears. She immediately runs down to find Mamahiki and sees that it is on the air conditioner. Just then, her dad comes home telling Enzu's mom that he has been transferred to the US for work. Again, Enzu is flabbergasted as she will be left in Japan alone. Her parents bring Mamahiki along with them and leave for the US. Enzu drops the ground and gets angry when Riri appears to spout some more nonsense. Enzu throws him to the ground and grabs him, demanding Riri return things to normal. She runs out, yelling like Hulk as all the chocolate stores are closed and sold out in convenience stores. Enzu kneels on the ground and shouts. She decides to never have a relationship to the point where Riri will give up and leave her alone. Romantic thriller? No. She is the romantic killer. Stomping out the store, she accidentally hits a guy's phone and doesn't know what to do. He goes to pick it up and she apologizes, offering to pay, but the guy insists it is fine. Since he is low-key hot, so Enzu gets nervous and runs away. The next day, she walks to school thinking about the hot guy yesterday. Just then, Riri appears and follows her around. Since no one else can see Riri, Enzu doesn't want to look crazy by talking to him, but Riri tells her that everyone sees an illusion of her when they are talking. After slapping her with his wand, he disappears again. Tsukasa, the guy from yesterday, looks at her and she realizes they go to the same school. His friend comes wanting to help her up, so Enzu quickly stands up and they leave. In the train station, a girl confesses her love to him, but Tsukasa coldly refuses and walks away. Enzu sees what happens. Another girl called Rina approaches him and starts glazing. His friend told him he could have accepted the letter, but Tsukasa doesn't want anybody getting the wrong idea. When Enzu is mad at him, Tsukasa tells Rina that his phone broke, so he couldn't reply to her message, and Enzu starts melting. In school, she brings her friend Saki into the cafeteria. When she is choosing her meal, Tsukasa talks at the same time. While eating, Saki talks about Tsukasa, adding that everyone likes him, but Enzu thinks otherwise. Rina starts dick-riding Tsukasa again and Enzu wants to leave. At home, she lies on her couch, bored without her games. Going to make dinner, she spots a cockroach and rushes away. She awakens the soldier with "never mind." She runs out the house. Sitting outside because she is scared, it starts raining and Enzu finds shelter under a bare structure. Contemplating whether to go back, Tsukasa walks to her. As Enzu crawls away, he tells her that there have been reports of a creep, so Enzu runs away. He pulls her back and tries to give her an umbrella, but Enzu, the genius, sees where this is going and rejects it. She gives an excuse saying that he will get wet. As she continues rejecting, Tsukasa drags her to his house. He accidentally touches Enzu's hand and starts blushing. Since no one wants the umbrella, Tsukasa decides to hold it for both of them. Walking, Enzu tries her best to not give in. In the house, she starts thinking that he is hot but pulls herself back together. After giving her a towel, Tsukasa asks her why she was hiding in the park, so Enzu fearfully tells him of the roach in her house. As she rants about her parents and Mamahiki and her bad day, Tsukasa laughs at her like a sigma. When he makes a comment, it breaks Anzu's guy blurring filter and she has to use the Momiki filter now. Tsukasa offers to help her kill the cockroach. She sadly rejects his offer and Tsukasa questions whether she is avoiding him. Telling her not to worry about the phone, Anzu shyly accepts his help and they get ready to leave. Her Mamahiki filter deflates and Anzu rages internally. At her house, Tsukasa looks for the roach with a newspaper in his hand. She spots something in her peripherals and rams into Tsukasa, telling him to get it, but it's just a lid's cap. Somehow, she is on top of him and the roach walks by. He smashes it and as he is leaving, introduces himself and tells her not to avoid him. He advises her to take a warm bath like he is her dad. When he opens the door, wind rushes towards him. He tries again and almost gets punctured. In the house, the two watch the weather report on the TV and Anzu wonders how she got in this situation with a hot guy. Just then, her stomach growls and Anzu goes to make dinner. Riri appears and, sorry mommy. ESPN replay? Riri set up the whole thing and Anzu is pissed off. Riri reminds her to cook some good food, but Anzu realizes that she is trying to do the opposite, so she presents him with instant noodles. After dinner, Anzu takes on Riri's challenge. She tells Tsukasa to spend the night and gives him her dad's clothes. After her bath, she comes out in her lame outfit and Tsukasa's dick inverts. Anzu brings out some board games and absolutely destroys Tsukasa. Getting irritated, he challenges her to another game with the loser making lunch. As the game goes on, Anzu gets unlucky while Tsukasa's rounds are smooth sailing. She gets mad, blaming it on luck but sees Riri smirking. Continuing the game, Anzu loses her fucking mind and Tsukasa laughs at her. In the end, he wins and now Anzu has to make lunch. Feeling bad, Tsukasa offers to help. He realizes that she puts sugar in everything and sees that her scrambled eggs are burning. She eats the one Tsukasa made and he adds that he works part-time at a bar. Persuading him, Tsukasa eventually makes her lunch and they wash the dishes later on. When he goes to the toilet, Riri mocks her for playing children's games and casts a spell on her. Tsukasa comes back to see Anzu sleeping and covers her with a blanket. She grabs his arm, making Tsukasa comment on how much fun he had. In her dreams, she finds Mamahiki and goes to grab her. Suddenly she feels rock-hard abs and her cat is ripped after being thrown around in Times Square. After Mamahiki runs away, Anzu wakes up from her sleep and hears her alarm. Looking up, she sees Tsukasa and realizes that she has been sleeping on his lap the whole time. Anzu starts blushing as she does not recall anything from yesterday and apologizes to Tsukasa. Brushing it off, he wears his shoes and leaves her house. Anzu sees that she forgot to give Tsukasa his lunch and imagines herself giving it to him in school. As she gets ready for school, she thinks about Tsukasa but pulls herself back together. She gets mad at Riri when Tsukasa comes to the house again to show her that his house has been flooded. He borrows Anzu's phone and his house gets even more flooded. Later, they exchange phone numbers and Anzu gives him his lunch. He takes out the bag which has cats on it, thanking Anzu for everything. Once he leaves, Riri appears and laughs evilly. Tsukasa finds a new room and does his laundry. In school, Saki comments on Anzu's lunch, so she laughs awkwardly. She contemplates whether she should tell Saki about the situation and gets a phone call. It is Tsukasa who tells her he got a new phone and asks to meet her after school. Rina goes to the teacher and asks him about Tsukasa. As the teacher calls him, Rina puts the speaker on and hears a girl. Anzu walks out of the classroom and they realize that it is her on the phone. In a cafe, Tsukasa constantly gets stared at by other girls and the waiter. Soon, Anzu comes in but Rina and her friend are also there. She starts meat riding once again and when they go to get food, he seems annoyed. The scene flashes back to Rina and Yukika telling Anzu that they will join her after school. After she explains what happened, Tsukasa grabs her out of the cafe. They walk and Tsukasa clarifies that he and Rina are not friends. She just follows him around like a stalker. As they apologize to each other, Tsukasa comments on how Anzu is different from the other girls and is easy to talk to. She confirms that he is not looking to date, so Anzu lights on fire knowing that they can be friends without it developing into a relationship. Tsukasa now asks for permission to store his toothbrush. Feeling bad, she considers inviting him to stay at her house but remembers that Riri set everything up. Instead, she offers to pay for the phone when Tsukasa gets a call. The realtor on the call tells Tsukasa that there are no available rooms and now, Anzu is devastated. Tsukasa adds that the phone price is almost 1 month's rent and suggests that Enzu let him stay in exchange for the phone compensation. She is surprised about him staying for a month, but Tsukasa tells her he will get rid of any roaches. Knowing that Riri will set up more weird situations, she is extremely hesitant but has no choice but to accept. In the house, Tsukasa is making her lunch. He asks if she eats breakfast and makes Enzu a sandwich. When Tsukasa goes to get his gym clothes, Riri appears to mock her, but Enzu makes fun of him because Tsukasa is not interested in dating. Still, Riri tells her romance is unpredictable. Just then, she hears the doorbell and opens the door to see another hot guy. Enzu doesn't know who he is even though he is her childhood friend. With Tsukasa coming out, the two guys stare at each other awkwardly. Enzu stands in the middle of them not knowing what to do. Tsukasa asks Enzu about the guy and he introduces himself as Hunta Hayami. When he asks if Tsukasa slept at her house, Enzu quickly interrupts to introduce Tsukasa and runs into the house with Riri. Tsukasa and Hunta side-eyes each other and walk away. Inside the house, Enzu kicks and beats the shit out of Riri. Screaming at him asking who the fuck Hunta is, Riri explains the backstory of this side character, adding that he has had a secret crush on her since elementary school. Enzu shivers in disgust as Riri continues harassing her. As she makes her way to the door, Hunta is chatting to an imaginary Enzu. Walking to school together, Hunta questions her about Tsukasa, telling her that she should reconsider letting him stay. Bro, why are you cock-blocking? She assures Hunta that Tsukasa is a good guy when suddenly, strong wind starts blowing and Hunta goes to touch her face. Never mind, she has a fucking beetle on her head. After he removes it, he tells her that it is worth $100 and sets it free. Now, Enzu wants to catch the damn thing. While doing so, Riri makes her trip and Hunta catches her. Since her hair is messed up, he offers to fix it for her. They have a conversation about the past that Riri implanted in Hunta's head. When he asks Enzu what games she plays now, she tells him that they have been confiscated. Soon, Saki meets her and greets Hunta. Enzu is surprised that she knows Hunta as it means that Riri messed with Saki too. She offers to help Enzu with her hair and ties it up nicely. At the train station, Tsukasa meets with his friend, Makoto, who comments on his new phone. The glazer walks up to him, nagging him for leaving her in the cafe, and asks to exchange numbers. He says pass and strolls away, telling her to leave him alone. After PE, Tsukasa runs into Hunta and Makoto is shocked that he knows Hunta. He says that Hunta is the star rookie in their baseball team and is amazed that he is Enzu's childhood friend. When asking about Tsukasa, Hunta's friends tell him that Tsukasa is hot and smart, so he becomes slightly jealous. Just then, two girls go up to them and they ask the girls about Tsukasa. Hunta asks a very hypothetical question of whether they would let Tsukasa sleep over at their house and they happily say yes. His friends get jealous that he was walking with Enzu, but he denies any romantic feelings. However, he actually thinks Enzu is cute but bangs his head on the glass. In the classroom, Saki has to go to a meeting when suddenly, she sees Tsukasa coming in. He tells Enzu to go outside where they exchange lunches because she packed them wrong. His friend comes over and Tsukasa tells him to keep his mouth shut. He introduces himself to Enzu. Finding a spot to eat, the three of them have lunch and talk about their siblings. Makoto brings up Tsukasa's sister, but he brushes it off. At the corner of her eyes, Enzu sees Makoto's chocolate bun, and he gives it to her. However, her hand is blocked by a barrier. Looking out the hallway, Rina sees Enzu with Tsukasa and gets envious. On the way home, Rina calls out to her asking for her time. Hunta goes to Saki as he is looking for Enzu, and she tells him that she already went home. He runs into Tsukasa again in the hallway and asks him about Enzu. At that moment, he spots Enzu following Rina. They go outside while Tsukasa and Hunta eavesdrop on them. Rina interrogates her on whether she is interested in Tsukasa, but Enzu assures her she is interested in nothing but chocolate, video games, and Mamahiki. Since she is not interested, they force her to help set up Tsukasa and Rina. Remembering how much Tsukasa dislikes Rina, Enzu declines. When Rina starts to look agitated, a girl walks robotically towards Enzu, questioning if she is ready to go home. She turns towards Rina and her friends and starts complimenting her aggressively. Rina tells her to shut the fuck up and stop glazing, so the girl adds that Rina is too ugly for Tsukasa. When Rina stomps off, Enzu realizes that the girl is Riri. She sees Tsukasa and Hunta behind her and gets startled. Telling Enzu that he followed her and eavesdropped on purpose, he adds that he was going to step in case. After she punches Riri into the ceiling, Tsukasa apologizes and thanks Enzu for rejecting Rina, but Riri is being annoyed. She introduces herself as Anzu's cousin to the junta and Tsukasa and suggests everyone hang out at Anzu's place. She continues persuading and pulls Anzu back to her house. At home, Anzu wants to stop Junta from having a crush, so she puts on a loser outfit but Riri smashes her. Anzu stands up, wanting to know when Riri became a human, and she replies saying that she is here to support Anzu in getting Junta. She forces Anzu to change with that creepy smile on her face and makes her trip. Landing on the ground, she realizes that she is on top of Tsukasa. He mentions how weird things happen when he is around her, but Anzu acts confused while Riri smiles. Later, Junta arrives with a box of fried chicken. He smells curry as Tsukasa is cooking. When they have dinner, Anzu is extremely impressed with the curry. Riri instigates by asking Junta about the food, causing him to become even more jealous that Tsukasa is better than him. Both Junta and Anzu want seconds, but Tsukasa exposes that she is on a diet. She quickly assures them that it is just for chocolate, and Riri sarcastically mentions how delicious chocolate is. When Anzu goes to get more, Riri compliments Tsukasa and proposes that he stay for longer than a month in Anzu's house. She digs her fingers into Riri's shoulders, and Tsukasa says that it would be way too much to ask for. Now, Riri proposes that Junta live in her house as well. They are deciding who to get ice cream by playing rock, paper, scissors, and Riri is rigging it so Anzu shotguns her into the fucking door. After fixing it, she realizes that her wand is in Anzu's hand and becomes nervous as she needs it to cast magic. Pulling her out to get ice cream, Anzu continues mocking Riri while shaking the wand. Still, Riri catches her off guard and tries to steal the wand back, but it lands in dog shit. In the house, the boys wash the dishes when Tsukasa tells Junta that he is not interested in Anzu. Suddenly, Junta drops the plate and starts getting embarrassed. Soon, Anzu comes back with Riri and her poop stick. Junta tells Riri that he dropped a plate. Is the floor okay? Junta runs back home and Anzu goes back into the house. Tsukasa tells Anzu that he hasn't had a lively dinner in a long time because he lives alone. Because he looks sad, Anzu thinks that he might have complicated family issues. In the morning, she sees Riri stealing her stuff. As she pulls the bag away, all her things fall out and Riri flies away. They walk to school and Junta spots them. His friends ask him about Anzu and Junta blushes again. In class, Anzu's friends question her when she and Tsukasa started dating. Even though Anzu insists that they are just friends, Saki gets excited that Anzu is finally in a romantic relationship. She suggests having a sleepover at Anzu's house and she gets nervous. Going back home, she is craving to play games, eat chocolate, and see Mama Hiki. As she cries herself to sleep, Junta goes back home and his mom tells him to pass something to Anzu. Later, she wakes up to hear sounds, alluding to being Riri, trying to kill him with a club. She turns on the lights and sees an underwear thief. Anzu gets mad that he stole an old lady's underwear instead of hers, and he takes his chance to leave. Junta spots the robber and chases after him at full speed. After Junta catches the thief, the two walk together and Junta tells Anzu how glad he is that she is okay. Tsukasa spots them and walks the other way. When walking back home, Junta gets a call and gives his phone to Anzu. His mom tells her that she will allow Junta to stay in her house as a bodyguard, and Anzu doesn't know what to do. Riri appears with an evil smirk. So now, Junta moves into Anzu's house and she tells them to sleep in the same room, but they reject her. Because of this, Tsukasa moves into her dad's office. Once they open the door, Tsukasa sees that it is all cats. Junta goes to talk to her but is blushing too much to actually speak, so he just leaves for practice. Riri flies up and Anzu kicks her out the window. There is still some good news though. She got a new job at a convenience store and hopes that she will have to see the boys less. In the morning, Anzu is half asleep yet still making lunch. Never mind, she falls asleep on the lettuce. Junta watches her mess up. In class, Junta proudly reveals his lunch and his friends comment on how it is worse than usual. They add that Junta's new best friend made it. Why is Anzu catching strays? After taking a picture, his friends confirm that it was Anzu who made it. Later, Tsukasa gets ready to head home from work, but his boss begs him to work the front of the house. He kindly declines and walks back home. There, a girl follows him and asks him to hang out, but he moves his arm away. When he reaches the house, Anzu grabs his arm, telling him he is late for the show. He tells them that they didn't have to wait, but they still insist. The next day, Junta rides to practice and Tsukasa invites her to go shopping to shield himself from other girls. Since he doesn't want to shop online, Anzu goes to change and comes back in the same shirt. Tsukasa tells her to change and her talent can be seen. Her talent of choosing the deadest outfit. Come on, bro. Now even Tsukasa wants to pick it for her and Anzu tries to hide her cat underwear. He takes out all her clothes and they are all cat-themed. Because Anzu still has leftover money, Tsukasa wants to bring her to get some new clothes, but that means she has to leave in... What are those? Riri appears offering to help. She pushes Tsukasa and shows Anzu her clean wand. I wish Tsukasa showed me his wand. Huh, what? Anyways, Riri brings Anzu out and she is wearing a nice outfit. Is it just me or is the room hot as fuck right now? At the shopping mall, Anzu has turned into a monkey. They walk around and Anzu asks him whether he likes hats. Tsukasa tells her that it is to hide his face. Brother, it is clearly not working. As they go to different shops, Tsukasa gets her new clothes that she is not happy about. She realizes that she is in the palm of Riri. While walking to the toilet, Tsukasa sees her gleefully laughing about her new clothes. He nervously stands against the wall as every girl who walks past looks at him. Two girls approach him and he recalls some distorted memories, causing him to hyperventilate. Just in time, Anzu gets back and pulls him away. Anzu thanks him for bringing her along when she spots a cat bracelet that looks like Mamahiki. Since she already spent all her money, Tsukasa decides to buy it for her. On their way back, Hunta sees them and Anzu dressed up nicely. He becomes jealous that they went on a date without him. Afterwards, the show plays and Anzu screams her ass off. No, not the show. It's the cockroach. Tsukasa asks for Hunta's help, but he is currently shitting himself on the couch. While wiping the dishes, Hunta is still crying on the couch because of the cockroach. Riri spies on her from the roof and foreshadows a new boy who will come into her life. Morning comes and Tsukasa goes into her room to wake her up. Since she has never slept late for school before, she is stressed. She runs to school proclaiming that she will be late but experiences déjà vu from the game. Coming up on the corner, she gets hit by a car. A guy in a suit comes out followed by a blonde man holding a toast called Hydri.